meeting. We have a public hearing, bid protest, mechanical and electrical maintenance and emergency repair work at the water treatment plant and pump station, specification number 677-18W. We have ordinances on second reading. Number 1, amend the management salary ordinance, add title Superintendent of Public Works. 2, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.16, Stopping, Standing, or Parking, Section 10.16.020, Schedule 24, No Parking Anytime, in regards to Scott Street. Number 3, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.12, Traffic Control Regulations, Section 10.12.10, Schedule 21, mid-block crosswalks in regards to Little Albany Street. 4, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.12, Traffic Control Regulations, Section 10.12.100, Schedule 11, bus stops regard along College Avenue. We have no ordinances on first reading. We have resolutions. Number 1, approve agenda amendments. 2, approve payroll, 6/23 to 7/6/18. 3, authorize refund for redeemed tax sale certificates. 4, authorize access and use agreement with Rutgers Cooperative Extension for New Brunswick Community Garden Program Recreation Park. 5, approve request for use of city property requested by Hyacinth AIDS Foundation, War Memorial Park, National Night Out Community Information for HIV/AIDS prevention in English and Spanish, Tuesday, August 7, 2018, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Number 6, approve amendment of resolution R031822. Reason, Tavern on George to provide a beer garden on George Street. Approve request for street closing requested by New Brunswick Cultural Center. Location, George Street between Liberty Street and Byard Street for 6th Annual Central Jersey Jazz Festival, Saturday, September 15, 2018, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Street closures 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Police extra duty. 7, approve request for use of city property requested by Rutgers Running Club, Bugalo Park Pavilion and Track for men's 8K and women's 6K cross-country race, Sunday, September 30th, 2018. The rain date, Saturday, November 3rd, 2018, 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. 8, approve ABC liquor license renewals 2018 and 2019. Number 9, approve request for street closing requested by Rutgers University Office of Emergency Management for Rutgers University Move-In Days Honors College students, Thursday, August 30th, 2018. One way on Seminary Place from College Avenue to George Street, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. For Rutgers University Move-In Days College Avenue students, Friday, August 31st, 2018. One way on College Avenue between Huntington Street and Bishop Place heading south on College Avenue towards Hamilton Street, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Police extra duty. 10, approve amendment resolution R061857. The reason to pay additional legal fees in the amount of $3,825 to Orleo and Donahue, representation of Mayor James Cahill in the matter of Arthur Anderson et al. Versus the City of New Brunswick et al. On punitive damages claim 269.8 to 273.625. 11, approve Chapter 159 budget insertion. Rutgers Community Health Foundation for Child and Youth Summer Enrichment Program, amount $30,000. 12, approve request for street closing requested by Sedan Street Reformed Church, location Drift Street between Sedan Street and Townsend Street. Yard sale fundraiser Saturday, July 14, 2018. The rain date Saturday, July 28, 2018, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Non-pro-ton police extra duty. 13, award or reject bid for mechanical, electrical maintenance and emergency repair work at the water treatment plant and pump station, specification number 677-18W. 14, approved purchase by police department under state contract A89851/M0003 software license and related services from SHI International Corporation for software for the police department, term 12-month period, commencing September 1st, 2018, ending August 31st, 2019, not to exceed $16,196.75. 15, authorize tax collector to transfer overpayments on tax and utility accounts. 16, approve amendment of resolution R041815, change order number 6, with Allied Construction Corporation Incorporated for the DNR Canal and Weston's Mill Pump Stations upgrade, specification number 245-12WR. The amount of $27,461. Approval of this change order will constitute an increase of 20% or more of the original contract. 17, approve amendment of resolution R071820, change order number 1, with JTG Construction Incorporated for Wilcox Road, Rutgers Village Water Main Replacement Project, Phase 2, Contract B, specification number 625-17W, amount $18,685.80. Approval of this change order will not constitute an increase of 20% or more of the amount of the original contract. 18, approve amendment resolution R071726, additional amount of $40,000 for the water utility with Suburban Consulting Engineering Services for Rutgers Village Water Main Replacement Project, specification number 61417 RFP, not to exceed $40,000. Number 19, approve award of contract to furnish and deliver fuel oil and diesel for the water utility with Griffith Allied Trucking, LLC, doing business as Allied Oil, number 1, diesel fuel, not to exceed $10,000, with J. Swanton Fuel Oil Company Incorporated, doing business as Swanton Heating Cooling Fuel, number 2 is the heating fuel, not to exceed $20,000. Term is 12-month period commencing July 19th, 2018 and ending July 18th, 2019, specification number 679-18B. Number 20, approve relaxation of the city noise ordinance requested by Amquick Crane. The reason to place a crane on French Street to remove a fan for the Robert Wood Johnson vertical expansion project. Date Saturday, July 28, 2018, time 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. 21, approve amendment resolution R061875. The reason 2 to 3 night period, Monday through Friday, between July 23rd, 2018 and August 31st, 2018. Approve relaxation of the city noise ordinance requested by Verizon, New Jersey, to perform conduit work on Church Street at the George Street intersection. Dates 2 to 3 night period, Monday through Friday, between July 23rd, 2018 and August 31st, 2018, 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. 22, approve amendment resolution R061876, various evenings, Monday through Friday, between July 23rd and 2018 and August 23rd, 2018. Approve relaxation of city noise ordinance requested by Verizon, New Jersey. The reason to perform conduit work on Byers Street from Kirkpatrick Street to Joyce Gilmer Avenue. The dates various evenings, Monday through Friday, between July 23rd, 2018 and August 23rd, 2018, 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. 23, approve off-premise raffle 50/50 at St. Peter's University Hospital for the St. Peter's Foundation, October 16, 2018. 24, approve award of contract with Kennedy Culver and Supply Company to furnish and deliver gate valves and appurtenances. And then what they said for the water utility. 12-month period commencing July 19, 2018, and ending July 18, 2019. Specification number 686-18W, not to exceed $103,000. 25, approve request for use of city property requested by Middlesex County Council for Young Children, location Bugalo Park Pavilion and grassy area for anti-bullying event, Monday, August 27, 2018, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 26, approve request for use of city property requested by Sidney Schwartz, Omega Phi Alpha, Bugalo Park Pavilion for Omega Phi Alpha Service Sorority End of Rush Week, Bid Day Gathering, Saturday, September 15, 2018, 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. The rain date, Sunday, September 16, 2018, 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. 27, approve amendment resolution R061823 to pay $20,000 in outstanding invoices for the water utility with Core and Main LP, furnish and deliver cold water meters, meter transceiver, units, MXU, and accessory specification number 610-17W, amount $20,000. Approval of this change order will not constitute an increase of 20% or more of the amount of the original contract. 28, refund of overpayment of water and sewer charges, property 245 to 247 Delavan Street, property owner Petrus A.C. Martins, not to exceed $12,265.79. 29, approve relaxation of city noise ordinance requested by Amber Crane. The reason to perform a crane pick at 125 Patterson Street for the roof replacement. Dates July 19, 2018 through September 19, 2018, Monday through Friday, 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., Saturdays 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. 30, approve award of contract to furnish and deliver janitorial supplies with Term Enterprise Incorporated, trading as Allen Paper and Supply Company, $53,847.40, with BioShine Incorporated, amount $16,886.97, with Central Poly Corporation, amount $11,501.30. The term is 12-month period commencing July 20th, 2018 and ending July 19, 2019, specification number 676-18P. 31, approve rejection of bid and authorization to re-advertise for Welton Street Park, specification number 924-18. 32, approve renewal of liquor license with special ruling for Labano Incorporated inactive liquor license number 1214330720006, 2018-2019. 33, approve renewal of liquor license with special ruling for C&T 1 LLC, liquor license number 121433077 014, 2018-2019. 34, approve renewal of liquor license with special ruling for Fathos Island Restaurant, LLC, trading as Wildfire Grill, liquor license number 1214330780008, 2018-2019. We have items for discussion. We have a public discussion at the next meeting. All right. Meeting will come to order. Please call the roll.
Council Vice President Anderson.
Here.
Council Member Egan.
Here.
Council Member Escobar.
Here.
Council Member Socorro Ludwig.
Here.
Council President Fleming is absent.
Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act are complied and satisfied in that annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time and place and conduct of all public meetings of the Municipal Council of the City of New Brunswick has been filed with the City Clerk, has been placed on the appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick family, the Hall News Tribune. Please rise. Possible. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We could have a moment of silence for men and women who are serving in our armed forces overseas and at home, and for all those who have passed. Thank you.
Chair, make a motion on minutes, June 6.
Second.
Roll call.
Council Member Egan.
Yes.
Council Member Escobar.
Stay on here.
Council Member Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council Vice President.
Yes. For correspondence by City Clerk.
Yes. A letter from Middlesex County Improvement Authority in regards to the continued support and membership in the MCIA Yard Waste Program. A letter from York Risk Services Group, Inc. in regards to 376 George Street fire suppression line failure. A notice from the law office of Peter U. Lanford, LLC, that a public hearing will be held at 7:30 p.m. on Monday, July 23rd, 2018, at a regular meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the City of New Brunswick. A letter from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection in regards to one 550-gallon, number 2, heating oil underground storage tank system. A letter from Pete Verdove to request a final inspection for work on 146 Hamilton Street. A letter from Mazer Consulting in regards to 199 Commercial Ave, remediation of the site has been completed. The correspondence will be forwarded to the appropriate departments for further action.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a public hearing, bid protest. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Council Vice President, members of council, agendized for this evening is a public hearing relative to a bid protest. By way of background, the City of New Brunswick went out to bid under specification 677-18W for electrical and mechanical maintenance and emergency repair work at the water treatment plant and pump stations. As a result of that particular bid offering solicitation, the City of New Brunswick received 2 bids from 2 particular vendors, one being Longo Electrical Mechanical Inc., and one being Municipal Maintenance Company. In connection with the review of those bids, the purchasing agent made a determination that it appeared that the Longo Electrical Mechanical bid was the lowest bidder, and that the bid specifications were satisfied. By letter of June 12, 2018, the City of New Brunswick purchasing office received a letter from Municipal Maintenance Company, the second lowest bidder, objecting to the award, potential award of the contract to the Longo Electrical Maintenance, Inc., on the basis that, in the Municipal Maintenance Company's opinion, they were not qualified and that they did not meet bid specifications. Specifically, there was a recitation in the letter signed by a David Berkler, and I may be pronouncing that improperly, Vice President, indicating that two of the particular bid specifications were not met. One with respect to the contractor having at least 4 full-time welders on staff, and that was part of the bid specification. Another one that the contractor must own a minimum of 3 6-inch and 1 8-inch diesel dry prime bypass pumps for emergency pumping. It stated in the protest letter that Longo does not only retain these individuals who were welders on staff, but does not own these pumps. As a result of the protest, the matter was initially set down for hearing at the last meeting, but due to scheduling difficulties with both parties, we had adjourned it to this afternoon's council meeting. With respect to the procedure regarding this bid protest, I think it would be appropriate. I know that counsel for Longo Mechanical is here, Mr. Barron, who's seated in the front row. I don't know if his client is here. He is, okay. I have not been contacted by anybody this evening from municipal maintenance, but I know that they plan on sending a record. Oh, there is a gentleman here, okay. So what I would suggest as a procedure to have this particular matter heard before the council, then ultimately the council will have to make a decision relative to the bid protest, whether it's valid, whether they want to award to Longo or not, or whatever the council may decide. I would ask that the actual protesting vendor present his information or documentation, come up to the microphone, and then after that we can have Mr. Barron, I suppose, on behalf of Longo, give their position.
Okay, so we have the gentleman from Mechanical and Electrical. Please, by the microphone.
Please identify yourself, sir, what your position is with the company.
Good evening. First, I'm really nervous, so if I hesitate or misspeak, I apologize. Last time I made a fool of myself last time I spoke to you. I'm one of the owners of Municipal Maintenance. I'm an engineer by degree. I'm the vice president of the company. My name is Dave Gertler. I'm the one that wrote the letter. I am responsible for the previous 3 years that we've performed this contract for the water department successfully, and as far as I know, they were very satisfied with us. My protest is based on that Longo Electric does not own the emergency pumps needed to perform this contract. The critical piece of this, a lot of people will say, well, you don't need to own these pumps in order to perform this contract because there's rental houses out there that will rent you these pumps if you need them. I've seen this contract written similarly in other places, and there's a reason that you need to own those in order to perform this contract. They're emergency pumps. When you need them, it's usually an ice storm, a hurricane, a blizzard, something's going on that you need these pumps where the pump station or the equipment that's at the plant is not operational. When that happens, everybody needs those pumps. So as you can imagine, the rental houses, they're called, Godwin is one of them. They have a place right in East Brunswick, Sunbelt Rentals. You call them up and they just tell you, I'm sorry, I don't have any. So the commitment that I have when I am awarded this contract is that I own those pumps, and those pumps are dedicated in time of emergency. Those are dedicated to the city of New Brunswick. when that happens. So those sit there until you guys need them. To me, that's a huge deal. If you don't own, and it's a lot of money in pumps, it's well in excess of $200,000 worth of pumps. If you don't own them, you can't perform this contract. And that's my basis for my protest, and I think it's really important, and drives whether or not a contractor can be responsive or not. I was made aware of a counter protest to our bid once we protested. I was made aware by, formally to us, was made aware of that Longo was asking about this, and that is a mileage requirement. In the spec, it says that you have to be within 50 miles of the city. They made a claim that we were outside of the 50 miles. It's my guess that I'm sorry, am I okay?
Yeah.
Okay. It's my guess the only way that they came up with that is they punched it into Apple Maps or Google Maps and got 52 miles or 53 miles from the plant or from this location here, which in my 20 years of doing this, I was an engineer out of school and I wrote specs like this, and I have 20 or 25 contracts like this with big cities like Philadelphia and Wilmington and Trenton. That's not how they measure that distance. It's always as the crow flies or straight distance. So it's very similar. You can imagine if some towns put out that they need to hire fire or police and they say they have to be within 5 miles of the city limits. They draw a straight line. They don't go by the driving directions. And if you take the straight line to our shop, we're 43 miles away. If that's overturned and someone disagrees with me that that's not how you measure by driving distance, which I think is wrong because it's pretty arbitrary. I could say I want to take that street over there and you tell me I have to take the highway. It's undetermined. But if it's insisted that that's the way you measure it, we are 49.3 miles driving-wise in my car to the raw water pump station, which is obviously within city limits. So to the city limit line, we're inside of 50 miles if you decide to go with that method of measuring. But I insist, and I truly believe, based on every other city and town that have one of these contracts that have mileage limits, they all measure. They take their town on a map, they draw a radius, a circle, and if you're inside of that circle, then you're accepted. It has nothing to do with Google Maps or a map program. That's all I have. I don't know if there's any questions.
What about the other idea that the
Yes.
they have to own where you minimum put in?
Welders. The welders. Yeah, I don't believe they have full-time welders on staff. Their business is motor and pump work, specifically and electrical work. My company that we have, we're not a motor pump or repair shop specifically. Our company is built around doing water and wastewater management service. So we do everything. So we have guys that will go and fabricate stairs and do the welding work and make repairs, and that's what we do a lot down at the water plant. We don't just do their motor and pump work, we do all emergency and maintenance work. And I know from other examples where I've competed with them elsewhere where they've been asked to do welding work, they've been asked to do confined space work or mechanical work, and they simply just turn it down. They don't want it. They want the pump and motor work, which is only a very, very small piece of this contract.
Yes, again, questions?
I have no questions for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Barron?
Well, it's true that I'm an attorney. I've actually never spoken in a public hearing like this. So the engineer is not the only one who's a little bit uncomfortable. I just want to go up and say that flat out. Okay? I do not usually appear at these hearings. They're usually of different nature. However, I do want to comment specifically about some of the things that were said. First of all, with regard to the 50-mile radius that he's talking about, if you actually look at the specifications, it does require that they be within 50 miles. And the point is to obtain emergency walk-in service and to conduct an inspection. I did in fact do a Google search, and they are both over slightly by the 50-mile limit. And if you're going to conduct an inspection, if you're going to conduct walk-in services, then 50 miles is 50 miles. You're going to have to drive. You don't sit there and do a radius, you've got to open the roads. And if you like, I have those Google searches that were just referenced, and they do show that it's slightly over 50 miles. However, the more pertinent questions that were raised, I do want to address, and I have somebody from Longo here who can answer specifics. First, regarding the individuals who do welding, yes, Longo does have 4 individuals full-time who are capable of doing welding. I have the requirements here if you want them. Would you like to?
Yeah, so the city clerk would do, right, please.
She says.
So you're indicating that you do have at least 4 full-time welders?
Yes, the individuals in question, as you will note, are Mr. Andrew Watson, Mr. Miguel Ayala, George Diaz, and John Caballero. What I've given you is documentation. Mr. Watson was hired in the year 2000. You'll see a certification, New York City Fire Department for torch operations. Mr. Ayala was hired in 1998. He has a similar certification. George Diaz was hired in 1988. You'll see a General Technical Institute certification. And Mr. John Caballero was hired in 1997. And you'll see a welder qualification test record. They're all there. They're full-time. They do welding. As simple as that. In regard to the other question, in regard to the other question as to ownership of those pumps, the basic reason that you want pumps there for an emergency are availability and quickness. I think that's fairly obvious. And it really doesn't necessarily matter if you own them, if you have access to them. And in point of fact, Longo does have access. I have a copy of the contract here, which essentially guarantees that access. Throw that in the record too. It is with Pumping Services, Inc. It's a rental quotation, as you'll see, and it's signed. So the pumps in question are available. You'll note that Pumping Services is located in Middlesex, which is a good deal closer than Simonson. So if something actually did happen, yes, they do have the guaranteed access that you want. It's there. In terms of the emergency that was mentioned, emergency is something you have to look at to some extent based upon past performance. My client made an OPA request of how many times mechanical maintenance had actually used those pumps. And what was produced in response to the OPA request was one occasion in which you were billed $2,187 for by municipal maintenance for 2 copies. So if the contract was for 3 years, it would seem to me, oh, and by the way, the actual use consisted of a 6-inch Godwin diesel pump, apparently used once, and it was pumping down a well, which isn't necessarily an emergency at all, it's just pumping down a well. So while you can hear all the scary stuff you want about freezing and other problems by the weather, the truth is they just don't really apply. And if they did apply, the actual access is there. So if the access is there, the ownership does nothing. All it does do is something different, and that is it restricts the availability of the public to get the best price for its services. Because based upon the specifications, they look like they were honestly written around only one company, namely Municipal Maintenance Company. Because the restrictions in there seem geared so that only Municipal Maintenance Company can get it. It serves no particular purpose for some of the requirements there, except to restrict bidders. And the effect of that means that the city gets the highest price because they only really have to deal with one bidder if everybody else is excluded. Now, that's not permitted by public bidding laws. That's not particularly fair to residents of the town either, the city either. My understanding is that Longo's bid was about 6,000, and municipal maintenance was about 120,000. So the restriction essentially is costing the city about $13,000. That's not particularly right either. And I think that pretty much covers it. Unless you have questions, or you have questions from other commission.
Just a couple. Mr. Barron provided us a rental quotation from Public Services Inc.
Correct.
But this is a rental quotation. So are you acknowledging that Longo does not own these pumps?
We're saying they are not owned, but they are not material because they are accessible. And in fact, they're more accessible than municipal maintenance pumps.
And what your argument is to the council is that these particular pumps are accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week if they need be?
If they need be, that's my understanding.
I've read the quote. I don't see anything in here with respect to exclusivity. And I think that was something that I think mechanical maintenance was trying to explain. Is it a possibility that pumping services are going to rent these same pumps to somebody else when Longo goes to try to rent them at the same time? If there be an emergency of a catastrophic nature, a hurricane or what have you?
Well, obviously, I'm no guarantor of the pumping company.
Well, I understand that.
But by the same token, municipal maintenance pumps can fail. They could be dedicated to one of these other storms that they have as well. Just because they own 3 or 4 pumps, they do other work for municipalities. So what makes you think you're going to get them? I mean, it's really 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Or these pumps could fail as well through the Pumping Services Inc. I mean,
Yes, except that it's a fairly large company, I've been told, and they have others.
I'm sorry. Member Council, have a question?
Does anybody have this bid specifications available that we can?
I will refer them, Mr. Shannon, because it seems like it's being implied that they were not.
Well, that was kind of where I was going with my next question. The bid specifications were prepared in conjunction, obviously, with the water utility and with the purchasing office, certified purchasing agent. Here's both bids, if council wants to review them. Mr. Barron is accurate. There is about a $14,000 difference, I believe, in the prices. With respect to the bid specifications as well, Mr. Barron's position is that they were written around, I think was his term, his client's company.
You can call them lockout specifications if you like. They lock out all the other bidders.
However you want to phrase it, sir. And I would submit that, based upon my information, the specifications have been the same on this particular type of contract for several years. And this was a contract that just had gone out to bid again. I've been sitting up here a little while. I don't ever remember rejection to those specifications in the past.
Well, the other point to make on this is the pumps themselves, we're talking about an emergency condition of which the record doesn't indicate that there was one over the past 3 years. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to hinge what boils down to a truly minor item at best to justify a rejection of the bid when access is there. I mean, a minor, as I'm sure you know, minor requirements can be waived.
Well, what you're asking is the council to waive what you term as a minor deficiency in favor of awarding to your client. But I think you've admitted that your client has not strictly met the specifications of the bid by not owning the pumps.
That would be correct. There is not technical compliance. But if you're going to waive the 50-mile limit and consider municipal maintenance.
Well, let's talk about that, sir, because I quite frankly, I've always been led to believe that 50 miles of radius would mean 50 miles of the city limits, the city border. And I did the checking myself, and I have to agree with the prior gentleman. I believe it is like 43 miles. It's, if you go to this building or the water treatment plant, you're over by a bit. But the city border, if you will, is within the 50 miles. Would you agree with that?
I did not do that calculation because when I looked at the specification, it seemed to be geared towards actual potential use at the plant. So it didn't make sense.
I understand your position.
Anybody else?
Not at this time.
Mr. Gertler?
I don't know if Mr. Gertler wants to, Mr. Cradible wants to say something, which it's a public hearing, he can. You want to give Mr. Gertler an opportunity to respond first before Mr. Cradible. Is that okay, Mr. Cradible?
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to address some of the things that the gentleman said. In reference to the 4 full-time welders, he used a very slick use of words. He said he had 4 welders, 4 people capable of welding. They could be doing motor work in New York City. They're not 4 guys that are doing welding full-time. 4 guys that are capable of doing welding, which my whole staff is capable of doing welding. I don't use them for that. They have a lot of other responsibilities. 2 of the people that he mentioned, he gave certifications on. He said they had torch use certifications. Torch use has nothing to do with welding. Well, torch use is you cut steel with a torch. It's a flame that you cut steel with, not putting steel together, which is welding. So 2 of those guys, he doesn't even have the documentation that they can meet that. It's important to note that, yes, I am $16,000 more, but I've built the cost of having those pumps available for you in an emergency into my price. Now I did happen, I'm disappointed that I'm higher. And I'm not saying it's all $16,000 is due to these pumps, but in an emergency, I'm setting those pumps aside in the corner of my warehouse in case the city needs them. He said I wasn't going to do that, and that's what my promise is. And I've done it in the past, and I don't know if anybody here, Mark Lavenberg is who I've worked for. I think he can vouch for me that when he's needed them, I'm here. It's also important to note that I hope, yes, they haven't been needed in these 3 years. That's a good thing. You haven't needed them. I go 10 years in the city of Wilmington with the same requirement, and they did need them once, and they needed 4 of them out of my fleet of 10 or 12. And they were there, and they pumped drinking water and pumped raw water out of the river to get it into the plant so that they could continue to run the plant. I think the fact that they've only been used once in the 1 or 3 years of the contract is a positive thing. It means that the staff is doing their job. They're keeping things up, maintained, so they don't need them, and hopefully you don't need them. But when you do, you don't want to be without drink. And I don't want to, that sounds like a scare tactic, but when you need them, you need them.
I certainly hope we don't need them for 1 year or 100 years, but if we do, I want to be able to tell the people of the city of Brunswick, no, they're right there, they're coming,
And
not for anybody else.
Pumping services, yes, they do rent pumps. I've never heard of anybody having exclusivity or, and well, that's what I was going to ask, was there a contract there that they have damages? They don't supply these pumps to Longo? I don't think so. I think it's just a quote. And I wonder, it's a slate on us, so I do want to reference the fact that nobody else could bid this. There's Rapid Pump and Pumping Services have bid it in the past and could bid this. They're identical companies to me. They have the pumps, they have the electricians, they have everything that we have. I don't know why they haven't bid it, but they would meet the spec, hands down. They would meet it. They compete with me everywhere else on the same spec. Very common spec that's used and very similar used in other places. And I don't have 3 or 4 of these things, and they might all be out. Your pumps might be out. I have a fleet of these diesel pumps, so if emergency comes, yes, I'm going to be renting pumps to other people, but I still have enough for the city of New Brunswick.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Thanks.
If there's any other questions,
Yes, I have a question.
thank you.
No, thank you.
Oh, and I will, if my shop isn't 43 miles from the plant, as the crow flies, I'll gladly walk away from this whole thing. That's how certain I am. It's 43 miles from I can pull up on my phone right now. There's an app that measures it. I did it this morning, so.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Shannon is our absent.
Thank you.
What town are you shopping?
Cinnamons in New Jersey.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of council. Charles Cradaville. I'm editor of New Brunswick Today community newspaper here. I'm a proud resident of the city and a candidate for mayor. It's rare that I weigh in on a bid protest. This might be the first time I've ever done so, but I am very concerned about one of the parties here. Can you tell me, is Joseph M. Longo still involved with Longo Electrical and Mechanical?
Yes. Yes.
Hey, excuse me, but this is a protest that's designed to specifically refer to the items that were protested.
Right.
It is nothing to do with individuals which are now being raised. And I see no particular reason why it should be added.
The only thing I can think of is if they're on a state mandate that says you cannot vote or something, you cannot put in bids or something like that. Is that that's what you're telling us is the case?
I'm concerned about the city of New Brunswick doing business with convicted criminals, yes. The man pleaded guilty in June 2016 to 4 counts of tampering with public records. He falsified
No,
payroll
that's
records
really-
that were submitted to the Middlesex County Utilities Authority. This speaks to his past
I know
behavior
that's not something that
with
we
public
can-
bids.
We can reject based upon that.
Well, I would nevertheless like the opportunity to comment. I'd just like to make it clear for the record so everyone knows before you make your decision.
But we can't make a decision based upon that.
Yeah. I understand, Mr. Crabbe, your position. I think you articulated that at the last meeting. We have to stay within the confines of the issues under protest. And
Well, I think the past performance of one of the bidders for a county agency is certainly fair game to bring up if they lied. And that's what they did. They lied to the Middlesex County Utilities Authority. So this goes to the credibility of everything you just heard from Longo Electrical and Mechanical, that they lied to both MCUA and Montclair. And this is from an article in Politico.com. Quote, according to the indictment from the Superior Court in Middlesex County, Longo pleaded guilty to falsifying payroll records on 2 jobs, one with the MCUA, another with Montclair. Longo from 2010 to 2012, this is a direct quote, did make, present, offer for filing, or use one or more false certified payroll reports or records falsely certifying, among other things, the wages that employees of Longo Electrical Mechanical Inc. were paid, end quote, in connection to the jobs, according to the charging documents. Although the court documents get no more specific than that, a source with knowledge of the case said Longo falsely certified paying his workers the prevailing wage required by state law. And I know that you all know that that's a very important requirement to make sure that folks are being properly compensated for their work. And I am very concerned that this bid may be the low bid, but it may be the low bid because they're cheating their workers like they did before. And I think that it's relevant that Mr. Longo was convicted. He's still in charge of this company, and just because he got a pardon from his friend, the disgraced former governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, doesn't mean that he or his company are good candidates to do business with the city of New Brunswick. We have had far too much criminal behavior at the water utility. We don't need to be bringing in outside criminals. Thank you.
Like I told Mr. Prattle when he was speaking before he spoke, we have to stay within the four corners of his protest and those issues that deal with his protest. I would advise council, Mr. Prattle has his ability to speak his mind, which he just did, not to consider any of that information, whether it be true or not, relative to your decision on what to do in this particular matter. I suspect council would say that as well. If you want to be heard again, Mr. Barron, we'll give you an opportunity, but I think we're close to probably maybe making a motion to go into
I was
closed
going to
session.
make a motion. If anybody else is going to speak, we can go into closed session. Mr. Chairman.
Second. Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council Vice President Anderson.
Yes. Closed session, we'll be back.
Tell me why we're going.
The closed session will discuss the facts presented, documentation submitted in connection with the bid protest, the purposes of council's deliberations, with the possibility of possibility of litigation.
Session, Mr. Chairman?
Motion. Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council Vice President Anderson.
Yes. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, the minutes from the closed session will reflect that council members discussed the testimony and documentation submitted by both representatives of Longo and Municipal Maintenance, that the bid specifications again were discussed specifically with respect to that specification that requires that the pump so specified or indicated be owned by the vendor as part of the bid specifications. Discussion was also made of the 50-mile radius, and it's my understanding as a result of the discussion with council in the closed session that council is prepared to make a motion to reject the Longo bid, award the municipal maintenance company bid, and declare the Longo electrical mechanical bid as not meeting bid specifications for the reasons just set forth here on the record. If that's what the council's pleasure is, I will prepare the appropriate resolution for the council to adopt on consent agenda, which will be R-071840, and you can act on it at that time. Is that my understanding?
That's my understanding. Does everybody have that understanding too?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That will conclude the bid public hearing with respect to agenda item D. Mr. Council Vice President, we can proceed to section E, ordinances on second reading.
Okay, we have ordinances on second reading. Number one, amend the management salary ordinance, add title Superintendent of Public Works. Anybody from the public have anything? Seeing none?
Move ordinance.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council Vice President Anderson.
Yes. Number two, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the city of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.16, Stopping, Standing, or Parking, Section 10.16.020, Schedule 24, and no parking at any time in regard to Scott Street. Anybody from the public wish to comment on that ordinance? Seeing none?
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council Vice President Anderson.
Yes. Number three, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the city of New Brunswick, Title 10, vehicles and traffic, Chapter 10.12, traffic control regulations, Section 10.12.210, Schedule 21, mid-block crosswalks in regard to Little Albany Street. Anybody from the public have anything they'd like to bring up at that time? Seeing none,
Move the ordinance.
Second.
roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council Vice President Anderson.
Yes. Number 4, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.12, Traffic Control, Regulations, Section 10.12.100, Schedule 11, bus stops in regards to along College Avenue. Anybody from the public have anything to say about that ordinance? Please identify yourself. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Charles Cradville, New Brunswick Today, candidate for mayor. Would like to just thank everyone involved in getting this bus stop a shelter. This is the most popular bus stop in the entire Rutgers University bus system. For those who don't know, the Rutgers bus system is the largest university bus system in the United States of America. So it was a really good thing to finally get this. I noticed construction has started, and I presume this ordinance will codify it. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none,
Move the ordinance.
Second.
roll call.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council Vice President Anderson.
Yes. We have no ordinances on first reading. We have resolutions 1 through 34. And number 13 would be to reject.
13 will be to award to municipal mechanical and reject the Longo on the basis of not meeting bid specifications.
Okay. Anyone from the public have anything to say on the resolutions 1 through 34?
Good evening once again, Charles Cradville. Have to ask about 837 is the $273,000 in legal bills for Mayor Cahill. And I get an update on the Anderson case. Is still in motion practice?
I believe so.
No trial date yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I want to thank the council for not selecting Longo Electrical Mechanical. As I indicated, I think they are the last thing we need in our water utility. I'd like to ask about 855 is a $12,000 refund of overpayment for water and sewer charges. Can I understand how it came to be that these folks are being refunded more than $12,000? What led to this?
And this one is big. There's no doubt about that. And simply put, we have been estimating that property since 2008 for whatever reasons. We did an investigation in 2015 where we were having issues seeking entry to the property to get on there to do it. We knew it was being estimated. We tried to get in and change the meter to get an actual read. For some reason, we were allowed in this year, and we went in and just under the auspices of coming in and changing the meter. And when we went to change the meter, lo and behold, over that period of time, the estimate had gotten up to that amount. Now, given the house and the property at the time prior to 2008, or somewhere in around 2008, there must have been a lot of people living in the house. But since that time, for the majority of the last 10 years, or say 7 of those years, it's only been one person living in the house, and so therefore we had the big estimation. When an estimate is generated, if we can't get a reading and we make an attempt to go back and we can't get in, people are working for various reasons, we have to go back on what the prior year quarter is. So these prior quarters were some big numbers as units. They were 40 and 50 units. Therefore, it came up to a big price. So to be equitable and speaking with the owner and the tenant that was in the property, we looked at the entire amount of estimated water, and then we prorated it over the 10-year period, going back to what the rates were. As the rates increased, so did the payments, and then therefore we came up to the number of that number. So we think it's equitable to the homeowner. We think it's equitable to the city.
We really do have a policy of, if you use the water, we want to make sure you pay for it, but equally so, we also want to make sure that you never overpay. Okay, if there's ever an incident like that, then we will take care of that. So, all right?
Thank you. And just can I understand how bills are estimated? I understand why they are, but what factors are part of a water bill being estimated? Like, for instance, do you ask how many people are living there, or is it just based on prior usage?
Exactly. The prior usage. We don't get involved and ask who's renting in. That is a very good way of estimating like what a bill is how many people are in the house. Okay, but that is a theoretical estimate. What we do is we use the hard data. Okay, so in the period from January to March, if you use 20 units, okay, it would be 20 units. And then if you went from March to July, the next period, and it was like 25 units and so on and so on and so on. And then that cycle would just repeat over and over and over again.
Okay, so just because it's from overestimating the bill for 10 years.
Yes, and the number was just repeated over and over again. And that's not uncommon in other. Yeah, and it's also having access to the meter as well.
Thank you for the thorough answers. 858, I see the bid is being rejected. This is why is it being rejected, and what's the next step?
Mr. Valente, I understand it's over budget.
That's correct. The project, we had only one respondent. I think 5 or 6 projected bidders picked up specs. Only one respondent who was over budget. So we are going to re-advertise and rebid it and just serve a better interest in the project.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask about all 3 of the final ones are liquor license renewals. It says something about a special ruling. Can you tell me what that means and what that means, for these establishments?
Special rulings have to come directly from the ABC with respect to inactive liquor licenses, or if a liquor license has a particular issue. You have to go to the ABC. This particular body, council, doesn't have the authority to renew the liquor license unless and until the director of the ABC says it's okay to renew the liquor license. With respect to inactive licenses, if they're inactive too long, the agency director has to give permission to actually renew it. I don't know the specifics with respect to all 3 of those. The clerk might be able to, because I know they handle that function, but that's basically how it works.
The licenses have been inactive,
Okay.
and therefore they require special rules.
Okay. Would you be able to tell me the last place that they were active? For instance, Libano has a Somerset, New Jersey address. Do you remember the last place that was?
I'm not sure.
How about C&T1 LLC out of Westfield? Okay. And then Thassos Island Restaurant, a.k.a. trading as Wildfire Grill. I recall that's the one in the middle of the highway off-ramp, 18 and 1. It was the matter of litigation. Originally, there were plans for
You mean the old Bennigan's?
the old Bennigan's, yes. And so I just want to understand, what does that mean for that site? Is it nothing, or?
It's been inactive for a long time. I have to review the application. I haven't seen it in several years.
Okay, well, I'll follow up. I know there's plans for a hotel there, but I also know that that's the subject of litigation as well, so thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the resolution? Seeing none.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilman-
I'm sorry, I'm staying at 8:39. So noted.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council Vice President Anderson.
Yes. Items for discussion by the council. Anybody have anything they can bring up at this time?
You don't, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We then move into the public discussion. If you have something to say, you have 5 minutes, one time up at the microphone. Please give your name and go for it.
Good evening, Council Vice President. My name is Junior Romero with Food and Water Watch. Our office is down at 100 Byard Street. I believe that's how you say it. I don't know. I'm wondering if the council has been supplied with the ordinance that was dropped off via petitions a few weeks ago?
Yes, we have, Mr. Teresi is still counting the signatures, but I want to let you know that regardless of whether that meets the signatures or not, we are well on our way to forming an ordinance that takes care of all that kind of stuff, so we're doing it anyway, whether it makes it or not.
That's excellent to hear. Many towns in New Jersey have implemented this sort of system under the Government Choice Aggregation Act. And New Brunswick has the opportunity to be the first, our understanding is to be the first to implement this sort of system, community choice aggregation, with benchmarks for renewable energy. And I want to commend the council for passing a resolution a few weeks ago supporting transition to 100% renewable energy. And I'm glad that you're considering and creating an ordinance, even if this ordinance does qualify or doesn't. I also want to thank the folks that I hope will come up and speak also in support of this future ordinance or the ordinance that has been submitted to the city clerk's office. It's more important now than ever that we transition off fossil fuels and onto 100% renewable energy. We certainly have a governor that supports this transition in the face of a presidential administration that is only taking us backwards. So I'm more than happy to see that the council is moving forward, and I urge a lot of the folks that have stayed over the course of this council meeting to come up and also show their support for this potential ordinance. Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you much.
Mr. Shunny, do you have a time frame?
Well, by way of background, let me give the public a little background information, fill in the history. As Mr. Romero was aware, I think it was April, you presented us with a request for ordinance and resolution supporting renewable energy. It took me a little while to get the resolution done, but since that time, I have been asked by the administration, the mayor's office, and council to research the aggregation issue, the energy aggregation process. While our friends at Food and Water Watch have worked with us in cooperative efforts in the past, and we enjoy that, we actually have done a lot, the city administration, myself, with comparing what other towns have done, both at Monroe, Woodbridge, and Edison's got something on the horizon with respect to energy aggregation. We've had meetings with energy consultants as to how this process works. Renewable energy as a component of the purchase, the bidding requirements, the legal requirements. And I think the public should know, and Mr. Anderson and members of council say that we're on our way. Obviously, the initiative petition is there, and the council will do what they're going to do, but I believe they're very much on board and look forward to working with Food and Water Watch towards that goal of having energy program, aggregation program put in place in the city.
Thanks so much, and we'll have your back if the initiative certainly gets us to 100% renewable energy. And I'd just like to add, we've seen many towns, and you've probably done this in your research, where prices for electricity have actually dropped because of the public bidding process. Exactly. So thank you so much for looking into it and for the years of research and getting us onto this transition. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cecilia Laurentiis. I attend Rutgers, the Blaustein School. I'm in the Master's in Public Policy and Urban Planning program. Also worked with Food and Water Watch for over a year. I personally went around New Brunswick neighborhoods and helped gather petitions for this effort. So I have seen personally the openness and willingness and excitement that people have about this ordinance to establish an energy aggregation program in the city. As everyone here I'm sure knows only too well, climate change is an inevitable and terrifying reality that many of us have struggled to accept every day. We have this heat wave that's affecting us all over the country, including us here in New Jersey. We had the horrible hurricanes that took place last year. There's an editorial in an op-ed in the New York Times recently about the difficult choice of whether to or not to have children into this world that will be besieged by climate change is a concern that I myself have considered as someone who is around that age. New Brunswick, of course, is a city that would benefit greatly from the establishment of renewable energy program. I have friends who have considered moving out of New Brunswick because of the air quality, and there are some people that don't have the privilege of moving out because of the air quality. And I want to thank you all again, as Junior did, for your support for this general effort, your willingness to work with Food and Water Watch on this towards this goal. Yet again, I want to express my support for the ordinance and my hope that New Brunswick will lead by example and be one of the first localities in the state and country to really take this bold step and say, we're not just going to sit here and worry about the problem of climate change, we're going to do something about it. Thank you. Hello, council members. My name is Deandra Cameron. I'm a recent graduate of Rutgers University and a master's candidate at the School of Public Health. I just want to share the same sentiments and show my appreciation for getting this work on the road. In my undergraduate career, I studied food insecurity in the New Brunswick area for a year. And to know that there's a population here in New Brunswick that suffers from nutritional deficiencies, there's other things that will exacerbate the disadvantages of that: water quality, air quality. And so while there are members in our community who can't afford to eat nutritional meals, they should at least be able to breathe clean air and drink clean water. And so I fully support this movement, and I know that I'm not sure if you get a lot of Rutgers students here, but New Brunswick is our home as well. And we spent a lot of years here doing undergrad, masters, PhDs, a good amount of our lives. And so for such a big university to be here and to have people all over the world come into this community, it would say so much about where New Brunswick is and where Rutgers is if you guys would just honor the commitment that the governor has already set forth, that he's on board to renewable energy. And so thank you so much. And I will be around to share my support each time and watch this movement grow and watch you guys push this forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Harold Soretsky. I'm a resident of Highland Park, but I've worked with Food and Water Watch in New Brunswick for a number of years. And I urge the council to support the resolution to go off fossil fuels and onto renewable energy. This sort of thing is really critical now that this national government is putting all sorts of roadblocks in the way of a movement that's already very late for doing something. So it's really critical, and I'm very glad that so far you appear to be on board. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tina Weisshaus. I'm the chairperson of Sustainable Highland Park, your neighbor across the river, and I'm really excited to hear that you're taking this initiative. And we've been talking about it in Highland Park. It's on our agenda, but I'm definitely going to be talking to the mayor, Gail Brill Mittler, and getting her to communicate with your mayor to see, who knows, maybe we could collaborate in this effort. And I just think that your leadership in this is great, and it may give Highland Park the momentum that it needs to move forward. But perhaps there's some room for working together on it too.
Thank you.
My name is Ruth Allen Brother. I live locally, not in New Brunswick, but in North Brunswick. I am a member of Food and Water Watch, but I'm also a member of Green Faith, the local Green Faith circle in this area. And that organization is always open to partnering with Food and Water Watch, and we are concerned about all matters of the environment and how they also impact people in terms of the justice of, as was mentioned, quality of life as resultant from food, water, air qualities that are impacted by this choice. And we are so happy that the council is moving in this direction. We want to thank you. It also impacts us as neighbors. Right? You know, the air and the water are shared by all of us. And this positive change will bring more quality, more fairness to people and improve the health of us all. Thank you so much.
Good evening once again, Charles Cradaville. I would like to ask about the ordinance, the very first one you passed on second reading tonight, the creating a new position, Department of Public Works Superintendent. Just so I'm clear, is that the position that Mr. Fair is assuming?
It is our desire to promote Mr. Victor Fair into that title when it is established, yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure how you knew that, but nonetheless.
The last meeting.
Okay.
Kind of came up there. I just wasn't sure if that was the same position. And so is there any update on who's going to be the Director of Public Works?
There's not an update, but Tom Valenti has been asked to serve in an acting capacity.
Okay, and so I presume, like the prior person in that job, he's going to be overseeing that department as well as the engineering department, is that correct?
At the moment.
Okay, congratulations to Mr. Valenti on that. Is there a time frame for the hiring of a permanent director, or not yet?
Haven't established one yet, but we will be looking at all the options.
Okay, thank you. So I want to thank the city clerk's office for producing a lot of records I've asked for, including the report of all the current employees. I do have a concern. I believe the minimum wage in this state is $8.60 per hour. Would there be any reason why any city employees would be making less than the minimum wage?
No, not a good reason for anyone earning less than that.
Do you have somebody to?
Yeah, so I have three folks who are on these pages here. I've highlighted those, and you'll see it's one person's at like 820, and then you've got a couple people at 850. And I just want to know why that might be, or I guess it needs to be looked into.
It'll be looked into. There's many, as you see, they're all junior or senior counselors who work the summer with us in the YSS program, and it is just a clerical error that they're earning a little less than minimum wage, but I'm sure that'll be easily rectified.
Was that the minimum wage last year?
I think it's crept up a little each year.
They may have had last year's.
Yeah.
Right. It was 844 last year. I'm not sure, but
it's even possible they haven't even been rehired and that their names just came up because the system is still, if you will, as being active, but nonetheless, we'll look at it.
And I would appreciate it if you could just follow up with me and let me know. Thank you. Can I learn a little more about those positions, junior and senior counselor? Are those year-round or are they seasonal?
I do, seasonal.
Seasonal, so what is that, 3 months?
Probably even a little less than that. The YSS program tends to ramp down mid-August, I believe. So we're not probably really hiring them until July 1st, till after they've gotten out of school. I think the YSS started July 10th of this year, if I'm not mistaken. Second. So let's call it a month and a half.
Oh, just 1.5 months, okay. And about how many hours a week is that position?
About 30.
Thank you. I noticed Ms. Moore is not here tonight, but I thought she raised a very good idea in terms of looking at ways to get more people interested in being crossing guards. And I did want to ask, believe. There's about 50 that are currently in this list. What is the sort of desirable number of crossing guards? I'd imagine there might be more during the school year. What's the, did you ask maybe the VA or the police?
I don't know what the number would be. We look at all the different routes that the kids take at schools are opening and closing, so we evaluate every year where we need the guards, and the desirable number is to fill every post that we feel is important.
Of course. So yeah, so there's more raise the point. There's the Robeson School will, hopefully be opening in September, so that's going to create more openings. Wanted to ask if the council.
Well, those crossing guards have been moved elsewhere.
So I'm not sure. They might have some working at Van Dyke in Jersey, but I'd imagine there's more entrances to this school and probably it's a bigger job. And also that school at Van Dyke in Jersey might continue to be in operation is what I've been told into the future. So I just think there's always a need. I think that she has a good idea to give the crossing guards a raise like was done a couple of years ago. I wanted to ask the council if that's something that you'll support. I think her suggestion was, the minimum's $12.50 an hour now, raising it to $15.
I guess it depends on the numbers. Monetary numbers kind of deal. Certainly, I would like to see him get 15, but I don't know if it's physically possible.
Great. So I will look at those numbers, and just can I get an idea of approximately how many hours a week a crossing guard works during the school year?
They work about 3 hours a day, an hour and a half in the morning, hour and a half in the afternoon. Some of them work 2 hours in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, but 3 hours a day is the average.
Okay, 15 a week. Okay, well, I'd be happy to do the math, and I think that it's worthwhile, whether it's the city paying for it or the Board of Ed, who I believe reimburses the city in full for all the existing cost of that program. So I think she has a great idea, and she's not here tonight, so I want to make sure it stays on your agenda and the momentum continues for that, because that's a good thing that the city can do to make it safer for people to get around and ultimately get to school. So I do have a number of questions about other positions, but I'll follow up with the BA or Mr. Adorno. And then the only other thing I wanted to check in on is the shared services agreement with Rutgers. I want to thank the clerk's office for getting me a copy of that agreement, and just can I hear from either the BA or the police, how is that working out, having Rutgers handle the 911 dispatch?
I have heard nothing but good feedback from both parties, our police department as well as Rutgers. The dispatchers are currently dispatching out of our Civic Square location. Once the radio frequencies are transitioned over to 55 commercial, then they will start to dispatch from that location. But the feedback so far given to me has been very positive.
Captain Miller, could you also
Tell how many people were hired, Tom, Mr. Lockton?
I've been away for a couple, 10 days or so on vacation, but before I left, we had, Rutgers had hired 7 out of 8 dispatchers who applied for employment, and they were going to put the 8th through an interview process again. I think the 8th did not interview well, but they were not going to close the door on him and was going to give him another opportunity to interview.
Great. Captain Miller, Captain Miller, your view on how things are?
We made the transition on July 1st. It was seamless. There was no change at all. There hasn't been any disruption in service. Everything went well. Like I said, working on moving the dispatchers eventually into Rutgers headquarters in Commercial Avenue once all the electronics are worked out.
Great, thank you.
Councilman, you going to have something to say? No. Okay. Just want to thank the council and the administration for doing that. I think it was the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to know,
Please.
how do you apply for
You
the...
just identify yourself.
I'm My name is Doris Elliott. I'm a resident of New Brunswick. I would like to know, how do you apply for the dispatch jobs? Can you throw some out there? What qualifications are you looking for?
Well, we're not employing the dispatchers anymore, Rutgers is. So I don't know exactly what criteria they use, but we can put you in touch with someone who might be able to take your phone call if you're interested. Our dispatchers have moved over and they've become Rutgers employees.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
My name is Susan Miller. I'm a resident of New Brunswick. I was just wondering, what is the time frame that you foresee for the drafting and passage of the clean energy ordinance you referred to before?
I think we're just trying to get it done as soon as possible, make sure everything is covered.
Mr. Council Vice President, quite frankly, I had a draft going, and then the initiative petition was filed with the ordinance attached, which has its own particular parameters set forth in it. Now, if council adopts that particular ordinance, then that would be the ordinance we would go with. If for some reason that ordinance gets withdrawn by the committee of petitioners or it doesn't get adopted, then we would go. My indication is from the council, we would go pretty swiftly with another ordinance. But now that the initiative petition is actually out there, that has to be dealt with under state statute. Council has to consider that, assuming the clerk certifies it. But I think the council already said whether they certify it or not, they want to move forward with their own. So we're going to have an ordinance of one form or another.
Right, but I mean, the question is, will it be drafted and will an attempt to pass it be made before the November election?
Well, the clerk's statutory deadline to certify or to reject the initiative petition ordinance is Monday, close of business. Assuming it's certified, if he does certify it, it goes to the council the first meeting in August. That's deemed first reading. Then it's listed for second reading at the public meeting of August 15th. And at that particular meeting, council will consider it after public input. If it's rejected, assuming it's certified, as I said, it would go on the ballot in November.
So it's not being considered, the Food and Water Watch suggested ordinance is not being considered tonight.
No. Presumably, it will be on for consideration on first reading, potentially, on the first meeting of August, which is the 1st of August. That's our next meeting.
And the city would have a competing ordinance?
Well, we were working on a competing ordinance, to be honest with you. I was spending a lot of time on it. But then this particular ordinance was filed. And this particular ordinance has to be dealt with under state statute because it comes along with a petition of signatures that are in support of it. So the process has to take place with respect to the Food and Water Watch petition ordinance.
Okay, so.
It's a little confusing, but.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can take the best from both, put it together, and go with that far.
It'll be done before November.
One way or another.
You mean the city's ordinance will be considered before?
Some kind, whether it's
Maybe a
or
combination.
city or combination, whatever it might be. There'll be some ordinance. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sachi Sagan. I'm a resident of East Brunswick in support of the Food and Water Watch. I just wanted to wholeheartedly say thank you for supporting them. I haven't been a member with them for that long, but I'm going to pursue environmental studies and science in college as an upcoming freshman. So I just want to wholeheartedly say thank you for your support in this initiative towards renewable energy because it's better for everybody as a whole. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Motion to adjourn.
Should we?
What's that?
We know. Anybody else in the public? Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn again.
Second.
Who's second?
Get out.
Councilmember Egan. Councilmember Escobar. Councilmember Sephora Ludwig. Council Vice President Anderson.
Yes.